The standards that you set for yourself are the standards that you will live by. Do you realize that only you can set the bar in your life? And wherever you set it, that is what your life is going to reflect. See, a lot of us think that we have standards, that we have these ideals in our head, but we've never taken the time to set them that way in our lives. We accept them to be much less than we desire, and we allow our lives to be at a very low state compared to what we desire and what we wish for our lives to be at. And standards are such a important but such a tricky thing, because indeed if we don't set them for ourselves and demand them of ourselves, we won't have them in our life. We'll just have them in our heads. And standards only do us good if they move from our heads to our actual life. And so when you think about the standards that you want, when you think about the life that you want to have, it's easy to idealize it and envision it in your mind, but to put it into practice is something totally different. And that's where a lot of us fail. A lot of people don't actually build the things in their life that they want out of their lives. You know, we have a standard of cleanliness, and yet we live with roommates that aren't clean, and we just say, I'm different than them, and I want so bad to, have a different standard of life. But the point is, you're living in an unclean place and you're not happy with it, and yet you're just going to stay there. And that's not okay. That's not how you build the good life for yourself. So you have to set standards. You have to raise the bar to a certain point, and then you have to live by it, and you have to accept nothing less than what your standards and your ideals are. And when you do that, your life will change. That is the way to change your life. And so you set these standards, you set the bar, and then you begin to live them out. You say, I want to have time in my life. I want to be relaxed. Well, then go be relaxed and go have time, and say that is a non-negotiable thing. And once you start implementing it and practicing it, you see that the rest of life falls into place with that. Whereas right now you may feel so busy and so stressed out, and you think, I have time for nothing, I'll never be able to relax. But you won't unless you set that standard for yourself, unless you demand it of yourself. And once you put it into practice, your life will change. And that's how you better your life, is you just come up with your ideals, come up with your standards, set the bar, meaning tell yourself this is a non-negotiable thing. I have to do this. So you set the bar where it is, and then you begin to hit it. You begin to practice it, put it into place, and implement it. And then you see life change. You see life become more happy, more better, more enjoyable, more relaxed, more meaningful for you. And that is what sets successful people apart from unsuccessful people, is they practice their standards. And they say, I don't want to live in a dump, so I won't. If I'm in a place that I'm not happy with, I will either fix it and make it very nice to my standards, and then they go to work on that every day, slowly building the place nicer and nicer and nicer. Or if they can't fix it, or they don't want to spend that time on it, then they just get a new place, and they say, I will not live in a dump, no matter the cost. So then they go spend more money on a better place that they rent or whatever. And you might think, well, that's counterintuitive. Now they're spending more money in a place that they have to rent, and they're losing, their bank account. How does that help them be more successful? Well, answer that for yourself. Don't you see people doing that all the time, that you don't think they should have the money to do it, and yet somehow they do. Somehow they get along just fine. They may even be getting along better than you. And you're saving and scraping every penny that you make, and yet you live in a dump and they live in a really nice place, and they're doing just fine, or in fact better than you, and seem to have more savings, and life is good. And I don't know if I understand that, other than that's just how it works. When you better your environment and you better your situation, you demand better things of yourself, and thus you're worth more. You command more from other people, from your job. You make yourself go earn more because you have to. And as your value increases and your standards increase, your income has to increase, and you just find a way to make that work. And I think that's a law of life, that as you improve, you rise to meet the needs. So I would encourage you to do that, but the first thing is to set the bar, set the standard, and raise the bar, and then go live that out in your life. Put it into practice daily. The things that are most important to you, that are your values, are your standards, that do hold your integrity in there, that form the kind of life that you want for yourself. Go do those things. Every day in your life, go start implementing them little by little, and you'll see them come to fruition. You'll see your life improve, your situation improve. You'll find yourself more comfortable, more happy, more excited, more valuable, earning more, doing better. I would definitely recommend doing that in your life. Right now I'm driving through Norway, and I am so excited to be here. I've wanted to take this trip for years. I actually flew into Sweden, into Stockholm, and then I drove all the way up north after spending a few days in Stockholm. I drove all the way up to Sundsvall, Sollefteå, Östersund, and then I drove into Norway, down to Oslo, and just spent a night and a day here. Now I'm driving over to Gothenburg, Sweden, and I'm just so thankful to be here. This is a trip that I've wanted to do for years. That means a lot to me, and to get to do it is so life-giving. I put it on my list of goals this year of something I wanted to accomplish for myself, and I had so many excuses not to do it. I didn't have anybody to go with, and so was I really going to do this trip alone? It was really expensive. I was super busy with work, and yet you do it. You make the time, you set aside the resources, and you go do it. And when you do it, your life becomes more full. You have new experiences, new opportunities, new people that you meet, and life just becomes more for you. And I'll go back and I'll earn more money, and I'll be just fine for the finances that I've spent. It didn't matter that I came by myself, because I had friends to meet up with all along the way here, and I've met friends at every place I've been to. I've met people and had great conversations, and you know, it's okay. And I'll come back sometime with good friends. I'll take people with me and do this trip again now that I know it. Now that I know where to go and what to do and what to see and how to do things and how not to do things, I can take somebody and enrich their experience even more than mine has been, and probably have a better second time for myself as well. And this was a standard that I wanted for myself. I want to travel every year. I want to go to places that mean something to me. I want to see them. I want to enjoy them. I want to build culture into my life and into my character. And I also want to push myself and test myself to be by myself in foreign places sometimes, where it just really is dependent on me to go meet people, to go create and curate the experiences that I want out of life. And it's been beautiful doing that, and I'm so grateful to have done it and to be doing it. And I'm in Norway. You know, this is the land of my ancestors. Sweden, the land of my ancestors, from part of my family. And I've been learning how to speak Swedish for the last couple of years, and it's been so fun getting to put that into practice and talk with people and actually be told I'm pretty good at it. Like, mind blown. You know, it's a neat thing. And I would encourage everybody to find what you're passionate about. Find what excites you. It doesn't even have to be something you're passionate about, but find something that excites you, that you think will enrich your life, that will make you feel like, wow, I accomplished some things that I really wanted to do in life. And go do them, and just have no excuses for not getting them done. Say, this is important to me. Someday I will do this. And then make that someday sooner rather than later. Just set a goal for it, set a date, and plan for it. You know, and if you have to abandon it and you can't do it on the day that you set, no harm, no foul, right? Because you wouldn't do it that day anyways if you hadn't set it for yourself. But if you actually work towards it and then it ends up working out, how amazing is that? That you can actually set your goals in paper for a specific time frame and say, I will do this by this date, and then work towards them. And most of the time you're going to get to a place and be able to do it. So you're going to get to that time and you're going to be like, yep, I worked hard for it. I set aside the money. I prepared myself. I set aside the time. And what other excuses are there for not going? You may have one or two which that hold you back, and that's fine. Well, then you're still prepared for when you can make it work. Or you have no excuses and it's time to go. And then you start putting amazing things on your list that you have checked off. that you got to experience in life that most people haven't and most people don't. That's the good life. That's curating for yourself the life that you want. So I would just encourage you to start doing that. 1, set your standards, raise your bar, start living them out little by little in your life, and you'll see that you can change everything that you desire. And then number 2, set those desires that you have, the things that you want to experience in life. Sorry, this view is amazing right now. Just set the things that you want in your life and begin to work towards them. So once you can knock a few of those out, you'll feel like you've led a much more cultured, much more fulfilled life, and that's so worth it.